everybody, welcome to Board Game Breakfast, the first one in October. Now folks, I have some really exciting things to tell you, so pay attention here, okay? This is important. First of all, the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction. We do a big auction on Board Game Geek each year. It's a big geek list where people will put up games for sale and auction them off. And so there's two ways to donate to the fund. This is our main fundraiser for the year, is to put up games and services that people can auction on and then, or to go bid on them. This is a great time. We're looking for volunteers to help this. So if you're interested, just email jackvaselauction2014@gmail.com. I'll put that in the notes below, but we're looking for volunteers to help out with that. Also, Dice Tower Convention 2015. Yes, it's in June. It's the week before July 4th, but it's great. Folks, here's this. I don't know how much. This is a great convention. It's super fun. It's family friendly. It's open gaming. It is 5 fun days of gaming. But I promise you, it is going to sell out. It's already sold hundreds of tickets, and we just put it up on the website. Didn't even announce it. This is the first time we're announcing it. So if you think you're going to go at all, buy your tickets now. DicetowerCon.com. Folks, check it out there. I cannot tell you how much I love this convention. It's going to get bigger each year as we go along. Right now, we're kind of stuck right where we're at, where we can only have 1,000 folks come, but we'd love you to be part of that. So sign up for that. Tonight, we're going to be doing a live show here on the Dice Tower. We'll be playing through Sheriff of Nottingham. The Arcane Wonders, Brian Pope is in town, and Jason Levine, and Sam Healy, and Z Garcia, and myself will be playing that, and you can watch how the game plays. We'll play a couple other games too, maybe. During that time, that's at, I believe, 7 p.m. EST. And then next week I will be going to, I'm going to Essen this week. No, that's next week. No, never mind. I was going to say Board Game Breakfast will be late next week, but it won't be late next week, so never mind. But Essen is on its way. So much news. In fact, let's get to the news. Okay, from the news, GMT has announced a new game, Twin Peaks. These are in its series of great battles of the American Civil War. It has 2 different battles inside this box. That's coming out. They've announced a second expansion for Elder Sign, The Gates of Arkham. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's taken Fantasy Flight so long to make a second expansion. Usually they pump out expansions for their very popular games, and Elder Sign has been very popular, the dice-rolling Arkham game. But I'm sure a lot of people will be very excited about this. Victory Point Games. They have too many games. Is that something that happens in many companies? In fact, stores told them their library is too big, so they're going to be instituting a P500 where people will go onto the website and say what games they want, and once they reach 500 or so, then they will produce that game. It's called a P500 system. AEG has announced for Black Friday a black box that you can order only through your local gaming store. And there's going to be 4 games in it. What are these 4 games? Well, if it's anything like the Legends of the Five Rings box that they gave out at Gen Con, that was a pretty cool box. And in that box there was a Legends of the Five Rings theming of Guildhall. And there was a version of the Legacy, and there was a couple other things in that box that were themed to the Legends of the Five Ring. So maybe it's something like that. We're not sure what's going to be in it, but whatever we know, it's going to be, a lot of people are going to be wanting to get this, I'm sure. They're also going to be printing Letters to Santa, which is another love letter spinoff about Santa Claus and writing letters to Santa Claus, a Christmas themed game. Has Love Letter jumped the shark yet? I wonder. And Shy Tag Awards. The nominees for them from the Chicago Toy and Game Association have been announced. The Rising Star designers. One of them is Dan Shapiro for Robot Turtles. Another one of their awards is Excellent in Game Designs. Let's see here. We have Simon Slide, Shark Mania, Camel Up, Gravity Maze, and King of New York. I couldn't even tell you what's going to win there. Probably King of New York, but who knows? And then Ares announced that they're going to be reprinting Age of Conan. When the designers of War of the Ring got together and they made a Conan game, it came out and kind of fell flat. There were some people who liked it, but it didn't do very well. Now they're going to be reprinting that along with an expansion, Adventures in Hyperborea. I don't know. I didn't know that there was enough people clamoring for this to be reprinted, but maybe they're going to change it in some way. We'll have to wait and see. Whew. Lots of news. So many Essen releases being announced that we're going to be doing a special episode of those later. In this segment, I take a look at one of my shelves and tell you why I keep the games that I do. Here we see 2 boxes here for Marvel Legendary, one of my favorite games. Marvel Legendary has 3 expansions out for it already, and then Legendary Villains, which was both an expansion and it was a standalone game. So I have them all mixed together. They almost all fit in this one box, but didn't quite do that, so some of it is still in the other box, and I'm sure I'll need more of that as time goes by. But a great game. Carnival Zombie is one of those games I don't really usually go for zombie games, but this one where you just stand there with machine guns basically mowing them down as they come to get you. Really fun and entertaining, although very hard to find. Jet Set from What's-A-Plague is a great game that really doesn't get a lot of buzz. Think of it as a gamer's version of Ticket to Ride, as you connect different plane routes in an economic but very good way, and this game has a very good expansion which adds to it. So a very high recommendation for me for Jet Set. Then I got The Complete Win at Spades. I don't know how long I'll keep that book, but it's entertaining and some interesting reading, and then A Pink Die. Of course, you should have one of those, of course.
October is upon us, and that means that Halloween is just around the corner. Lots of gamer families like to play spooky-themed games around this time of year, whether it's specifically for a Halloween party or whether it's just for the month in general. Now, there's lots of horror-themed games out there on the marketplace. Many of them are pretty intense. We're not going to talk about those games. Today we're going to talk about some games that are lighter and more kid-friendly. Phantoms vs. Phantoms is a 2-player strategy game with a ghostly theme and mechanics similar to Stratego. Players set up their 8 ghosts, 4 with blue dots, meaning they're good, and 4 with red dots, meaning they're bad. To win, you must capture all your opponent's good ghosts, trick them into capturing all your bad ghosts, or get one of your good ghosts to one of the exit spaces on your opponent's side of the board. Phantom Society is a Victorian ghost-busting game for 2 to 4 players. The game takes place in a haunted old hotel, and the owners would really like the haunting to stop. Half the players are ghosts, the other half are ghost hunters. The ghosts are trying to trash the hotel by doing damage to the rooms. The hunters need to search those rooms in order to find the ghosts, but in doing so, they also trash the rooms. The key is, can they catch all 4 ghosts before the total damage done to the hotel amounts to too much money? Vampires of the Night is a fiendishly cute garlic-kicking game. Players use the magic bat wand to move Papa Vampire around the castle, trying to kick the garlic off the edge of the board so that his little vampire children don't get poisoned by it. If it goes through a hole, that's bad. If it goes off the edge of the board, that's good, and you score points. There are tons of fast-paced card game and dexterity games that have a ghostly or a spooky theme to them. They're great for kids, or they're good for adults looking for a nice warm-up game. Ghost Blitz, Spot It Halloween Edition, Ghost by Richard Garfield, Poison by Reiner Knizia, and Nox. So there's some spooky games for you. Happy Halloween!
Civil War tile game, just like the Civil War, but without no bloodshed and feelings not as sore. Neither of them brothers, and neither from the South, telling one another to shut their filthy mouths. Weren't no amputations, and no one had the poops. Played mano a mano instead with lots of troops. A battle in your pocket instead of on a field. Everyone left happy and nobody was killed. Ooh. Just like the Civil War, but much more well behaved. No ladies were widowed and nobody had slaves.
Hey guys, Tom Vasel here.
Jason Levine.
And today we're joined by special guest,
Brian Pope.
who's from Arcane Wonders, and he can help us with our question today from Hermes, who says, should companies, when they make the inserts for a game, provide the room for sleeved cards? Like they will make these inserts, vacuum-packed inserts that hold the stuff for the game. Should that also hold sleeves, and why don't companies provide for people who like to sleeve their cards?
Well,
you don't even know.
I'm not a sleever. Well, I'm not a sleever. I don't sleeve my games. But I do think that they should make them big enough for sleeves, because there's a lot of people who they get the insert, they put the sleeves in, and then either the cards are a little too high and don't fit, or the sleeves are too wide and then the cards can't fit at all with sleeves. So I think to please the sleeve people, I think it would be a good thing to do it. Like a perfect example would be the Dominion box. The Dominion box is a great box for the cards, but if you wanted to put sleeves on it, it doesn't fit.
Well, I'd argue that it's a great box, because if you turn it sideways, they all fall out. But production. Tell us a bit about these inserts.
I absolutely think that you should definitely include inserts that are sized for sleeving your cards. It's such a small, easy thing to do. There's just no reason to leave it out. When we were doing the spell books for Mage Wars, that was very important to us, and we actually had them add an extra couple millimeters to the standard size of a book. And we tried it, messing around with it, just to make sure there's plenty of room to be able to get them in and out easily. Not just fit, but in and out easily. So I absolutely think that they should do that.
On the other hand, I'm going to disagree with Brian slightly. And I don't think, first of all, I don't think this, I think that there's a big sleeved audience in Magic the Gathering and perhaps companies like games like Mage Wars. But for most people with Dominion and such, the vast majority of people who play those games don't sleeve their cards. And you say, no, Tom, I play, a lot of people and almost everyone in my group plays sleeves. That's your group, and that's a small selection number. For the most part, most people do not sleeve their cards. You may think they do, but you're in that small selection group.
No, I'm telling you, at Dominion, not only in our group, I was at the World Board Gaming Championships, and
that's a selective group.
That's 1,000 people, 2,000 people.
But they've sold millions of copies, and no, most people who buy games do not sleeve their cards. Most people don't. Only the hobby, diehard hobbyists.
But the cost is it's just no extra cost at all.
But it is an extra cost for making those boxes, because sometimes if you make it so it fits the sleeve cards, it won't fit them when they're unsleeved. Then there's too much space and they rattle around.
We're talking about 3 millimeters there total, about 1/8 of an inch. It's not that much.
Not if you use the good card sleeves. See, then you're only accommodating penny card sleeves.
I still don't think it's that much jiggling around space. But you're right. If you make everything perfect for a sleeve card, it's going to have a little extra jiggle space for people that don't use their card.
No, for example, I have Marvel Legendary, and if I unsleeved all the cards, I have them all sleeved in the nice sleeves. If I unsleeved them, I could fit them in one box, but I can't. I have to use two. That's a big difference, I think.
I personally don't ever sleeve anything, so I am happy with the way inserts are now, but I think for the people that do sleeve, I'd love to see it where maybe you could buy a second insert, buy a sleeved insert for $1 more, and then you get a sleeved.
Well, those plastic inserts do cost money, though. They're not cheap to put a plastic insert in a game.
Right. Vacuum tray?
Yes.
It's probably 85 cents, something like that.
Right, but when you're trying to make a profit on these games, 85 cents can be quite a big deal. So anyway, and also then you have to pay an engineer to make the tray itself, and that's probably no small cost.
Yeah, you're right. It's built into the cost, but yes, it's definitely there.
Oh, I see. It's built into the cost. Well, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Tell us your feedback in the comments. Send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com. See you next time.
Greetings and welcome back to Whitleypedia, the free board game encyclopedia. Last time we discussed the shortcomings of the Board Game Geek ranking system, but the merits of the so-called Geek Voters List. I posited that once you look at the list based strictly on the number of votes, then you have a much more comprehensive, much more accurate list of the most popular games of our hobby. And it's a list that frankly feels a lot more like the Dice Tower People's Choice Top 100. I assembled a spreadsheet comparing the 2013 People's Choice to the Geek Voters List, available right here on the Dice Tower forum. If a game is on both lists, it gets 5 points. Then, given the proximity of the game on the People's Choice to its location on the Geek Voters List, I awarded extra points. 5 points if it's within 5, 2.5 points if it's within 10, 1 if it's within 25, and half a point if it's within 50. The maximum total score is 1,000, but I figure that a more realistic maximum is about 500. So, of the top 100, 66 games are on both lists. Of the top 50, 31 games are on both lists. Of the top 25, 15 games are on both lists. And of the top 10, 7 games are on both lists. The Final score was 437, 87%, or what I like to call a solid B+. Other points of interest. Only one game appears in the same location on both lists, at number 3. The Geeks Voters list features 0 games from 2013, whereas the People's Choice featured only 1. The highest rated game on the People's Choice that was not on the Geek Voters list was Summoner Wars, whereas for vice versa, it was Tigris and Euphrates. The biggest problem with the Geeks Voters list is that the top is pretty well set. At number 1 and 2, Settlers and Carcassonne have been collecting votes for 20 and 15 years respectively. Even though, for many people, these are games that are just in our collection but don't actually see a lot of play. However, Settlers featured at number 12 and Carc was at number 9 on the Dice Tower People's Choice, so people are still playing these games. How do the actual Board Game Geek rankings compare to the People's Choice? That is a question we will answer next time.
For Dice Tower Productions this week, still plenty of reviews. I got 11 of them at your seat. We're going to see some smaller games that we'll be taking a look at. Some of them are really cool and some of them are the very opposite of what I just said. We're also going to be doing the top 100 of all time, myself and Dan King. We'll be doing 20 more of those this week. In fact, next week we'll be starting the People's Choice. That's not coming this week, but there's that. Don't forget there's that live show that we have tonight. And of course, Dice Tower. We'll be talking tomorrow about our top 10 boring games. Boring games. And then, of course, all the other stuff you can find at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm also working on getting another podcast underway. There's still a lot of work going on into that. And many of you have been wondering where Board Game University is. It will come back at some point. We're working on retooling that a little bit. And there was a Dice Tower Showdown posted last week if you missed that. There's plenty of content. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get back to this show.
Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise with another installment in my Meeples for Sheepish Peoples series. In my previous segment, I asked the question, if shyness, awkwardness, and anxiety are likely to be a constant lifelong struggle, is it worth even trying to overcome it? My favorite part. Well, as always, I can only speak from my own personal experience. But to me, the answer to that question is a resounding yes. And here's why. The best experiences that I've had while board gaming, the moments that give me stories to tell, are always caused by the people that I was sharing the experience with. It's not the game that I remember, but the players. And whether I was playing the strangest game of Scrabble ever against an eccentric elderly adversary, accidentally discovering the portion of the population that finds Pixel Lincoln offensive, or DMing a method-acting role-player who was tricked into wearing the Emperor's new clothes. None of these terribly true tales would have occurred if I'd stayed at home instead, tinkering with Twilight Imperium all alone. When I pushed myself to break through the barrier of social anxiety, then pow! That's when memories were made. Now, I'm far more comfortable and exuberant when I'm interacting with a small circle of my friends. So I didn't expect this to happen, but at each convention, I've made several acquaintances, creating entirely new small circles of friends at each one. These relationships are slowly changing my convention-going experience from one of nervous trepidation to an opportunity to reunite, play games, and share stories with them. In order to find friends to game with, I first had to game with strangers. Oh, it was nerve-wracking, but once I decided to begin, it's snowballed and it has gotten easier. And I hope that this series helps someone else out there that's in a similar situation overcome the anxiety of finding new friends so that they too can experience new tales to tell.
Today we're going to take a look at some specific accessories for a game that I really like quite a bit, and that is Mage Wars. Now, one of the accessories that a lot of people know about is that they have different spell book packs where you can get them, and inside them you get 2 more spell books, and each spell book has somewhat of a theme the spellbooks are pretty much the same as the original ones. They just have different themes on the outside. So like this one here is kind of like obviously for the druid, in my opinion, or maybe for the beastmaster. This one looks like it's for the priest, and they have several different that you can get. But more exciting than that to me is, of course, a dice tower. This is a specific dice tower for Mage Wars. You can see the logo here in the front. And I'm a big fan of different dice towers, and I like one that's very specific to the game I'm playing. But even more exciting than that are new dice. These are all the different colors. The game comes with some red dice, and that's fine, but some of these dice look really sharp. I'm especially fond of the green ones. But you can give different color dice to the different players. You can pick whichever dice you want, and you can see they roll pretty nicely in the dice tower. But even better than that, and I mean this really, are these. Now these are boards for Mage Wars, and in Mage Wars you're keeping track of your channeling, of your mana supply, and things like that. Well, here you're going to keep track of them with these markers. So here, let's say maybe I have 12 mana, my life is currently at 3, I have a maximum life of 38, and each turn I'm going to get 10 more mana. But what's great is these are magnetic, so you can see they don't come off. If Mage Wars has a problem, it has these little markers and they easily get bumped around, or you're like, oh, where was that marker exactly? I can't remember. Was it here on 17 or on 12? Here with the magnets, they stay on. These are great, and I'm going to use these in all my Mage Wars games. I'm definitely going to use them. Definitely going to use these new color dice. I already have put the new spell books into practice, and I have the dice tower. That's some nice little supplies. You can find all this at the Arcane Wonders website.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game map. Translating a dexterity game to the digital world is a pretty tricky piece of business. One of my favorite party games is Ghost Blitz, and I was pretty dubious when I heard it was going to hit tablets. Let's take a quick look at this digital dexterity port. In Ghost Blitz, there are 5 objects that you race to grab based on the card that's flipped up. If an object is perfectly represented in form and color, grab it. On the other hand, if no object is shown in its real color, you must grab the object that does not have its color or shape on the card. It's simpler than it sounds, and it's incredibly fun to play. Zoc is known for their high-quality board games, and apparently they're going to carry that quality into their apps as well. The developer Terra Infinity implemented Ghost Blitz with all the features I ask for in a top-tier app and more. Even though the rules are simple, there's a thorough tutorial and the graphics look great. You can set the length of a game and tweak some other game settings. It even supports multiple player profiles on a single device. But more importantly, it's clear that they thought through how a speed dexterity game would translate to a digital experience. Ghost Blitz offers 3 different modes of play. You can play in solo mode, which is basically a no mistakes allowed endurance run. Versus mode pits you against all other active players in the world, in which you play solo on your device with the exact same cards, but compete for rank. And finally, there's Classic Mode, which lets you play against the AIs, friends locally, friends online, or a mix of the above. There are even 4 AIs included. Ghost Blitz is an incredibly well thought out and implemented app. If you hate Ghost Blitz or dexterity speed games, then this probably isn't for you. But for everyone else, gamers and non-gamers of almost any age, I highly recommend this one. Give it a try.
On the Dice Tower forums, which you can find, by the way, on our website at Dice Tower, and click on forums, and I highly recommend doing so because there's some great people who have a lot of great thoughts. And someone talked about how my tastes were changing and how is there something in the way that as we get older and such that our tastes evolve. And for example, with me specifically, Tom Vasel, that I'm starting to generate towards shorter and shorter games. And I think there's some truth to that. I mean, gone are the days in the summer, I remember as a kid, where every single day over the summer, we considered playing a 5 or 6 hours Axis and Allies or Fortress America game. We didn't care. We didn't care how long it took because it was summer and we had all day and nothing else to do. I don't have all day and nothing else to do anymore, and so it's very possible that shorter games appeal to me. But I don't know what it is. I often feel like I'm looking at fun per time quotient. And so, no, don't get me wrong. I do like playing long games. I'll sit down and play an all-day game of Twilight Imperium once in a while. I'll sit down and play a 4-hour game of D-Mocker or Fortress America or something like that. But I kind of gravitate towards playing more games. And part of this is because I love variety. And now that I found a lot of these fun, shorter games, those shorter games give me a real bang for their buck. Are my tastes evolving? Well, they are, I think. I look back at my ratings and there's games 10 years ago that I thought were pretty fun that I don't want to see much more. But the only real trend that I can see, I mean, in my gaming is that I kind of tend towards, I'm tending towards shorter games. Is it because we're busy and these are games we can fit in? That's a good part of it. But I think for me personally, it's the variety. And that variety just wanting to say, ooh, I played 4 different games. When I play a game that's very long, even if the game has a very strong narrative, there are times where I'm like, oh man, that we've been doing the same thing now for a very long period of time. Now, some people will jump up and go, Vasel, that is your ADD speaking. Well, I've never been diagnosed with that, so I don't know. But yes, there is a part of me that wants to just see things keep moving and keep interesting. But I can hold my attention span during a long game of Eldritch Horror, for example, because I'm fascinated by the story overall. But I get kind of a joy when I come home after game night and I played like 10 small games, because I'm like, oh, I had 10 different interesting experiences. And to me, that's pretty cool. I did 10 little games. I don't want to do that little thing all the time. Sometimes you just want to play one big epic game. But I'm finding that as I get older, that one big epic game doesn't attract me like it used to. I still like them, and you'll still find them in my top 100, many big epic type games. But as time goes by, I'm finding that those short games that we can play over and over again or fit in between meals or do at a time when we only have a short period of time, those tend to attract me quite a bit. And I'm finding that some designers, less is more, and have the ability to design a really cool game that only takes an hour. And I have maybe, let's take some fun quotients. Let's say a game that takes an hour gives me 10 grams of fun, but a game that takes 4 hours gives me 20 grams of fun. Well, obviously the shorter one is better, because even though I got 20 grams, I could play 4 1-hour games and get 40 grams in that same period of time. Now that's completely unscientific, and I completely made that up, but I think that to me, the math is still there. There are some very lengthy, long, epic games where much of the time I'm sitting there kind of interestingly watching what my opponent is going to do. I remember when I played Axis and Allies Pacific for the first time, the player who was playing the Japanese, there were so many things that took them 30 minutes to decide what to do in their first turn. Well, that's entertaining to a point. But with these shorter games, I'm often engaged the entire time. And when I play several of them in a row, not only am I engaged the entire time, but I have to change my mentality from game to game, which keeps me involved and interested, as opposed to, let's move some more and roll dice and see what happens. So I don't know. Is this a change for the bad or for the better? Am I still willing to try the epic games? Well, I am. Am I much more interested in the hour and 90-minute games? Yeah, I am. Is it my age? I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments.
The Captain here. Welcome back to Carry On. Today in an encore edition of Gaming on the Go, I'm going to be talking about some spectacular single-player games that you can play when you're solo and sojourning. Sometimes you're just not going to have other people to play with. So here's some great recommendations that you should check out. My first recommendation is Friday by Rio Grande Games. In this very thematic game, you're going to be helping out Robinson Crusoe as he battles savages, wild animals, tries to stay alive, and in the end, battles pirates. The theme in this game is integrated wonderfully, but don't think it's easy. I've played many times, and I've actually yet to win. I'm embarrassed to say. My next recommendation is by White Wizard Games, Star Realms. This is a smash and grab, combat heavy deck builder that I absolutely adore. I know what you're thinking. Isn't Star Realms a 2-player game? Yes, it is, but it also has a co-op variant as well as a solo challenge. The solo challenge is a ton of fun. I highly recommend it. Give it a try. For my final recommendation, I don't want to steal any of Suzanne's thunder. However, if you're traveling by yourself, use your tablet or your smartphone. There are some great games that have been turned into apps. Some of my personal favorites are Puerto Rico, Stone Age, and Le Havre. As an added bonus, if you have Wi-Fi, you can play those games with people that are halfway across the planet. Like me! Well, that's it for now. I hope that you enjoyed this Encore edition. Until next time, carry on.
That's it for this time, folks. Thanks so much for stopping by Board Game Breakfast. I'm not kidding. Dice Tower Con, if you're coming, sign up. Don't wait. I'm thinking it will sell out within the year, maybe even faster. But anyhow, we'd love to have you there. Anyhow, guys, there's a lot of great stuff coming. Essen, I can see it on the horizon. It's getting closer and closer. Woohoo! Anyway, thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. I'm Tom Vasel, and you guys are the best.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.